This video is sponsored by Vessi, the 100% waterproof shoe that is ready to go wherever you want to go. Click the link below to check it out for yourself or stick around to the end of the video to learn more. Got to play about 5 hours of Dead Island 2, and I gotta say, I went on a bit of a journey with this one. So the first thing I should point out is that I have not actually played the first game. I went into Dead Island 2 really not knowing what to expect. I knew it was a first-person, schlocky, B-grade horror-style zombie game, but in terms of comparable experiences, I didn't know if it was Evil Dead, or if it was The Last of Us, or Dying Light, or Left 4 Dead, or any other number of zombie games, because Lord knows there are a lot of them. What I did know was that Dead Island 2 has had one of the most cursed development cycles of any video game ever. This game was first announced back in 2014 in a trailer that would go on to become so famous that Goat Simulator 3 would parody it. That trailer is famous for a reason, by the way. That is a fucking great trailer, and it perfectly communicates a vibe that, funnily enough, is well and truly delivered in the final product 10 years later. But the people who made this trailer aren't the people who began development on the game, and they aren't the ones that would go on to finish it. Development began back in 2011 under Techland, the team who made the first game, but they soon decided they wanted to focus on their other project, Dying Light, a more serious take on the first-person open-world zombie formula that would go on to be hugely successful. In 2012, Jaeger, the team who had just shipped Spec Ops: The Line, pitched the game and won the contract. They were now Dead Island 2's developer, and they were the ones that delivered this trailer at Sony Showcase back in 2014. However, things behind the scenes were not going so well, as apparently Jaeger and publisher Deep Silver did not hold a shared view of the project, and in 2015 it was announced that Jaeger had been replaced by Sumo Digital. So now we're up to 3 developers. They'd hang on to the project for a number of years until all of a sudden, inexplicably, Deep Silver announced that they were no longer on the project either, and that Dambuster, an internal studio of Deep Silver, would be the ones to deliver the final product. This is not the first time Dambuster have ended up with a project that they didn't start. Their first major release was Homefront: The Revolution, which they inherited from Crytek UK, who went bankrupt, and Crytek had inherited it from Chaos Studios, who went bankrupt. So Dambuster are kind of used to being handed projects with messy development histories. Hopefully after this one they get the chance to make their own thing from scratch. All of this history provides important context for Dead Island 2 because any game with a development timeline that fucked up really has the odds stacked against it. And so while I went into this without any expectations, I also wasn't expecting much. In my first hour or two with the game, I was like, oh man, I don't know about this. Dead Island 2 is very simple and straightforward by almost every metric. Its visuals, its character designs, its melee combat feedback, its weapons, its upgrade systems, its open world structure. You've absolutely seen all of this many, many times before, and you've definitely seen better versions of each of these individual components. So at first I was like, yeah, if you released this 8 years ago as planned, this would have popped off. But now in 2023, it feels a little dated. I still think that that's partly true, in that video games have evolved past what Dead Island 2 is providing, but that evolution hasn't been a universally good thing. In the case of Back 4 Blood, it means frustrating difficulty and in-game cash shops. In the case of Dying Light 2 and Days Gone, it means a really bloated storyline and an open world that's probably too big for its own good. In the case of Calisto Protocol, it means a combat system that is too clever by half, tripping over itself as it tries to introduce new things. Obviously, these are all really different games, but they're examples of contemporary zombie games from the current generation, and each of them had their own frustrating, exhausting aspect that can make them feel like work. What I came to realize after spending about 5 hours with Dead Island 2 is that it doesn't feel like work, ever. There's not much to it, it's very simple, it feels at times quaint, but it's always just dumb, relaxing, cathartic fun. It's uninterested in many of the more laborious aspects that weigh down similar games. It just wants to let you pick up a rake so that you can beat zombies to death with it. Blood and guts spilling everywhere, your character spitting out cheesy one-liners as you go, and that's about it. I suspect that many people will consider that not enough, especially given the price tag, but for me, it was enough. I actually ended up enjoying my 5 hours with it, and I'll happily play some more. So first of all, I'll make the point that all the footage you're seeing here is provided B-roll I was not permitted to capture. Sadly, that means I don't have footage for everything I'd like to describe, like the opening, for example. Dead Island 2 begins on an aeroplane. A whole bunch of survivors were lucky enough to escape, or so they thought. One of the passengers is infected, and as they turn, everything goes to shit. It quickly snaps to character selection screen at that point. Dead Island has a number of different playable characters, each of whom have their own distinct personalities, voice lines, stats, attacks, and I think maybe stories. Another preview I spoke to said that his character was looking for his brother, but I don't recall my character ever talking about that. It's possible I missed it, but I don't think so. Anyway, you'll select your character, and this is a permanent choice in that you can't switch characters for the rest of the story. You'll begin with a basic introduction sequence set near the wreckage of your aeroplane before one of the other survivors, who is a famous actor, says to come and find her in her mansion in Beverly Hills. Immediately, you get a sense of the sort of tone that Dead Island is going for. I mean, the developers call this location Hell A. It's very much meant to be a parody of a self-absorbed location and the insufferable people that might live there. The actor is, funnily enough, not so bad, but her assistant is, yeah, just imagine the sort of officious, over-the-top, fame-obsessed, celebrity-worshipping assistant that you think might fit the stereotype, and you bang on the money. I can't say how all of these characters will align with the Hell A vibe. Mine, for example, was an Irish rocker brawler type. She didn't have much time or patience for Hollywood faff. She was a straight shooter, a straight talker, and had obviously trained in the most raucous of Dublin's mosh pits. She quips a little too relentlessly though. With the likes of Forspoken and Atomic Heart, there's been a call to bring back silent protagonists. My suspicion is that the characters in Dead Island 2 will provide plenty more ammunition for that cause, since yeah, my character certainly got a little bit annoying after a while. I feel like they could have reduced the frequency of her commentary and quips by at least 50%, and the game would have been better for it. Your character may change depending on who you select, but the events of the story do not. You get to Beverly Hills only to realize that you've been bitten, and since you're not turning into a zombie, you must be immune. At that point, your quest becomes finding the authorities so that you can get in touch with them and help them develop a vaccine. And it's like, dude, have you not played The Last of Us? Have you not watched the show? Handing yourself over to the military is not going to end well for you. That's just a guess, of course. It could go completely different this time around. Your quest to get yourself dissected begins in the actor's Beverly Hills mansion, which goes on to become your base of operations for at least the first portion of the game. I'm not sure about the rest. She tells you that the only way to reach the powers that be is via a radio at a nearby hotel, so off you go. This is where you're pushed out into Hell A, and you get a sense of how it's all structured and what there is to do. It isn't a truly open world game. Rather, it's a series of open world sections that you move between via loading screen. So this section I got to explore was Beverly Hills, but I'd soon be able to move to the Hollywood map. I'm sure we can expect downtown and Santa Monica and Skid Row and other famous LA landmarks. You get a sense of their scale in a stylized tourist-style map of the location, and they reveal themselves to be quite small actually. You could easily run from one link to the other in a minute or two tops. In terms of what's in them, you're looking at a collection of locations that will always house plenty of zombies to kill and collectibles to scrounge, but some of them will also host side quests. I stumbled upon one which was the mansion of a retired Golden Age actor. Think Kirk Douglas or Charlton Heston, especially given how much he enjoys his rifle. His house was under attack, and as I walked past, he spoke to me via the intercom, inviting me up his driveway to help him out. I then had to kill a whole bunch of zombies in his courtyard, and then kill a whole bunch more zombies while his inclinator slowly ferried him from the top of his staircase to the bottom. At that point, he gave me a nice new weapon. I think it was a golf club maybe, and then he went to live back at the actor's house, such that when I returned, I could chat to him. It's a nice touch since it's a very tangible reward for bothering to go out into the world to complete side activities. There was another side quest set inside a streamer house. I got sent to the top floor where I had to entertain the influencer by killing zombies in a variety of gruesome ways. It was dumb. The influencer was insufferable, as all influencers are, myself included, but it was funny. I had a good time with it since I had to find inventive ways to set zombies on fire or kick them off the balcony, etc. It was fun. But yeah, after that stuff, I was back on the main quest and on my way to the hotel, and the hotel played out in a very linear fashion, which is how I expect most locations in the game to play out. You're guided into certain sections which have some sort of find the key puzzle, or turn on the generator, or just kill a whole bunch of zombies until a door mysteriously opens. It's fine. It's like I said earlier, it's simple, it's unambitious, but it works. And if you're down for some mindless zombie slaying fun, then this fits the bill. That specific mission culminates in a boss battle with a zombie bride, again, quite funny to be honest. And then I got sent to Hollywood to track down someone last seen at a movie studio. Now, if you've never been to actual Hollywood, you might have a vision of it in your mind as a really pristine looking place full of beautiful buildings and designer stores. No, real life Hollywood is a fucking shithole, trust me. And Dead Island accurately captures that. It's a much more rundown location than Beverly Hills, featuring one side activity with a washed out rocker and his girlfriend living in some shitty house, and they're too drunk to be able to close the gate, so I have to do it for them. The movie studio is actually pretty great, to be honest. The last hour was when I really decided that I like this game, because it was willing to put its silly, over-the-top characters into silly, over-the-top locations, doing silly, over-the-top violence, and the violence is kind of the point. Dead Island 2 will not win any awards for excellence in first-person melee combat. Dying Light 2 did it better. Atomic Heart did it better. Darktide did it way better. But Dead Island 2 does it just fine, and it's perfectly enjoyable. You swing to do normal light attacks, you hold your swing to do a heavy attack. There's a kick button that does a small amount of damage and shoves enemies away, and there's also a dodge or a block, which can become a parry if you time it right, and the timing is very generous indeed. As soon as you start swinging, you'll immediately get what I mean when I say that other games have done it better. The animations are a little stiff, the hit registration is a little wonky, the enemy feedback is a little flat, and the sound design is a little underbaked. But it gets the job done, it really does. One thing that spices up combat is how gory it is. There's an entire skin peeling system in place that will hack the skin and muscle away as you hit the same spot repeatedly, and it's definitely satisfying to be able to give a zombie a literal facelift using a pool cue you found laying around. You can also maim them, which is actually a pretty important part of combat. If a zombie is a little too mobile for your liking, a few swings to their leg will remove that leg. Not so mobile now. Similarly, removal of the head also works, and strikes to the head have the added bonus of being a crit, which means that heads will sometimes outright explode. It's a simple pleasure, but it's a pleasure nonetheless. Speaking of weapons, you will swing whatever you can find laying around. A crowbar, a broken 2x4, a knife, a golf club, some Wolverine-style claws, whatever. The full game will apparently also have ranged weapons like pistols, rifles, shotguns, etc. But I did not find any of them in this build, so I can't comment on that. In addition to that, there are also throwable items which recharge when used. Think stuff like a throwing star or a pipe bomb. They're good in a pinch, but their long cooldown means that they're quite situational, which is what they're meant to be. The weapons you find or craft can be upgraded with a variety of simple mods for now, but there's no telling how crazy those mods will get later in the game. For example, I was able to electrify my Wolverine claws, which applied a stacking debuff. When that debuff hits max, the zombie is electrified, but so is any other zombie standing near them. It's a really powerful debuff that's very easy to proc, and I think it's a great example of what they're going for here. They're not looking to make the world's hardest zombie game. This isn't about bragging rights, it's about having fun. Having said that, there are higher difficulties for those interested in a challenge, but yeah, the normal mode is very chill. Environmental damage is also a really big part of what this is. You're encouraged to lure zombies into poison water, or electrified water, or poison gas, or whatever. Zombies are really dumb, and they just walk wherever you shepherd them, so you're often repositioning to make use of your environment as much as possible. In terms of progression, there's your weapons, which get better stats and better mods, but your character will also unlock new ability cards through your playthrough. So it's kind of weird that they went with a card system, since that feels a little played out now. But yeah, you get a card that lets you dodge, or a card that lets you block, and you can only have one of those cards equipped, so you have to choose. Then in another slot, you get a card that gives you health back when you dodge and attack, and another card that gives you bonus attack damage when you successfully parry. You later get another card that lets you do a ground slam, knocking over nearby enemies, so you are slowly finessing your own build that allows you to play how you want, and that might also leverage the inherent stats and passives of whichever character you chose. Certain characters are slow-moving bruisers, so trying to stack them full of cards based on speedy dodges might not be the best call. But yeah, I don't know, the whole card thing, much like the rest of the game, you see it and you're like, oh, this again. And you experience it and you're like, well, it's not really aiming for much. But then you spend time with it and you're like, you know what? This is fine. It gets the job done. It works. I'm having fun. That was my take from Dead Island 2. It got the job done. It was fun, or at least in the first 5 hours it was. Visually, it's nothing to write home about, but it gets the job done. It actually runs really well on my PC with no stuttering or crashing, by the way, so that's nice. The open world is very simple and familiar, but it gets the job done. The combat is a little stiff and the weapons you're swinging aren't anything inventive, but they get the job done. This might sound like a negative preview, but I want to stress that it's not. I think it would have been had I stopped playing after 2 hours, because I was kind of critically assessing each of these components as I encountered them, and none of them really stood out. But through prolonged exposure to them, you learn that everything works exactly as it's intended to, and none of it has anything that is going to piss you off. None of the weapons are annoying to use, none of the material requirements are too onerous, none of the zombies are frustrating to fight against, none of the side quests are too long or ask you to do boring bullshit. It all just works, and it's funny, and it's got cool locations and set pieces, and you can play this co-op with up to 2 other mates, which is nice. I played it solo, and I still had a great time. In the words of the Todd, it just works. It really does. And if you're in the mood for a solid video game, sans all the bullshit that many modern games try to foist on us, then I suspect Dead Island 2 may be for you. It's coming to Xbox, PlayStation, and the Epic Games Store on the 21st of April. I will have a final review up on the embargo, So yeah, don't forget to subscribe and all that stuff. Thank you for watching, and oh yeah, thanks to this video's sponsor, Vessi. Okay, so here's a new one. Shoe sponsor. Vessi reached out to me and they're like, hey dude, do you want to do a shout out for a shoe? And I'm like, you know I'm a gamer, right? We're not exactly known for our high fashion. But they were undeterred, confident that they had a good product worth talking about. So I'm like, all right, send it through. So these are my Vessi Stormbursts. Well, that's actually a lie. They sent me 2 pairs, one of which I've been wearing and this one has just been unboxed. They're a simple, stylish, high top sneaker that looks nice, slip on and off really easily, and have great build quality. So that's nice and all, but you're like, well, why would I buy these when I can buy any other number of sneakers? Well, the thing about Vessis is they're actually waterproof, for real. This is a video putting my Vessis in a pool and then taking it out, and as you can see, the sock is dry. So you're thinking to yourself, well, I don't usually put my feet in pools, Ralph. Okay, fair enough, good point. But do you ever walk the dog on a beach? Do you ever go hiking? Do you ever need to take your kid to soccer practice the day after it rained? You ever got to go out there and live your life even though it's bucketing down rain? That is what the Vessi is for. Maybe it's your everyday shoe, no reason it can't be, but maybe it's just a shoe you keep in your back pocket, so to speak, ready for a rainy day or some other time when you know things could get a little wet for whatever reason. I've been wearing them for a few weeks now and I've been super satisfied with them. They're comfortable, durable, and breathable. They provide plenty of support, and yeah, they look nice, which is a bonus. I don't wear them every day, but it rains here a lot, and it's nice to have a pair of shoes that I can rely on when I need to head out of the house for whatever reason and it's raining. That is a big upgrade. This is the Stormburst, but Vessi have a whole range of other shoes to check out as well. So if you're keen, I've left a link to them in the description below. Best of all, if you click that link and then use offer code SKILLUP at checkout, you'll get 15% off your total order, which is nice. So use offer code SKILLUP at vessi.com/skillup. Thanks to Vessi for sponsoring the video, and thank you for watching it.